I wish I knew this in my 20s. I would not have struggled. I promise. If I knew this in my 20s, I would not have struggled at all. Late boomer. I started my life in my 30s, technically, after having an amazing teen and not so good 20s. But I was like, why not share with my girlies some of the mistakes and some things like so while reflecting, I took a few points down and I wanna talk about like these things. They're really interesting. The first one is the importance of self-discovery. I wish I had discovered myself a while. No, I take that back. Things I wish I had known in my 20s. So basically, I do not wish now because if I didn't do that, I would not be sitting down here talking to you guys. These are some of the things that I didn't do in my 20s that if I had to go back to my 20s, these are things that I would have done. Self discovery, self awareness, knowing who you are. Because the truth is, if you don't know who you are, the world will help you define who you are. People will define who you are. Friends will define who you are. Colleagues will define who you are. The people that employ you will define who you are. So it's important you know who you are. You know where you are coming from and where you're going to. You know what makes you wake up every day and what stirs your coffee, basically. So just being self-aware and discovering myself, knowing that I am not um my timeline is not every other person's timeline, contrary to what the world says, because the world tries to box us, especially when we are clocking that scary 30. It's like at 30, you haven't done this, you haven't done that, you mean you haven't done this, and then you start getting really scared because, of course, I got really scared because by like 29, I wasn't where I wanted to be, and I was not seeing headway of where I wanted to be. Yeah, if I was more self aware, I feel like some of the things that happened to me would not have happened to me. So just being self aware. And the second one is financial responsibilities and understanding finances. Now, a lot of us do not understand finances. A lot of us do not even know our worth. A lot of us do not know how to put a price to certain things that we do. And that is why you have something that's called talented but broke. So you might be very talented, but you don't have money because you do not know about finances. So for a lot of us, we just walked into um, money, if that makes sense. And it was so easy to lose that money because of lack of, I would say, financial education, lack of budgeting, lack of priority, like putting certain things before the other ones. And yeah, I didn't know a lot about budgeting in my 20s, which is not good. I didn't know about putting a fee to things. As a digital marketer at a very young age, this really affected me because people will call me to do their work for free. Like, I'm not even lying. And I remember one day someone said, please, see people that used to just call me to say, oh, please, my Instagram is doing this, my Facebook is doing this. Will you just go to a doctor and tell the doctor you're having headache and all without paying consultation fees? So it happens to a lot of us in the creative space because we don't have the how do I call it? My words fail me. But yeah, we feel like we can't ask for money for the things that we do. And I changed that in my 30s, obviously, like in my mid 30s, I changed that. So I just started using a different approach, especially for friends and family. So you send me something and say, I'm interested in doing this. Can you advise on the way I could do that? Blah, 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 blah. And, I know you're knowledgeable in this. Help me set up this. And I respond, I'm like, that's very good idea. I know you succeed in this. Typically for this, I charge X to this, but for friends and family, I will give you this rate, but I will just put the price there from the start of the conversation, which is something I didn't do a lot in my 20s. The quality of your relationship versus the quantity of your relationship. Now, building a strong network of people is more important than having 2 million people around you. But, ask yourself, like, if I am in need of something now and I go through my call log of the people I speak to every day, do I have people that can come true for me in this, right? What am I giving? because trust me, life is give and take. What am I giving mm, in this relationship? What am I getting from this relationship? What am I giving? What is my friend group like, right? What kind of messages do we send to each other every other day? And I just noticed that it's when the chips are down, you know your people and your people know you. That's the truth. You know your people and your people know you. So it's important to have quality friends in your 30s. And one thing I love to talk about a lot is that in your 30s, you're going to lose a lot of friends if you're intentional about friendship, because then you realize that you didn't really need certain people in your life because you're going to have to create boundaries. And there's something about boundaries. I didn't have boundaries in my 20s. And when I started, creating boundaries for myself, even how I want to be spoken to, I realized I lost a lot of friends, but in the long run, I was very excited about it because I felt more peace and I felt like I had now made quality friends over just having, 2 million friends that do not respect you, that do not respect your boundaries. So you are going to lose friends when you create boundaries. I'm talking friends that you have known for 12 years, 20 years, like yeah, that's it. Friends that you've known from the day. We had like I grew up in a small town, so a lot of family friends that I knew that we're still friends today because our parents are just close, you know what I mean? And during that sieving process, you now say, okay, these are the people that are my people, these are my tribe. I think I should do a whole video on how to actually find and keep your tribe. Well, one thing you need to know is that if you're losing friends, it's okay because you're doing something right. You have um created boundaries. Okay, let me take that back. Let me take that back. If you're losing friends, it necessarily might not mean that you're doing something right, because sometimes you always have to look both ways. I am a big fan of taking accountability, right? I used to be in a place in my life where I had to take responsibility for my action. Like, Sarah, the reason these things are happening to you is because you are letting it happen, right? You're taking in everything, right? You are letting it happen because you have the right to say, I don't want to be spoken to like this. You have a right to like not pick this call at this time, and you're just setting a message that I am not the one. You have a right to set your boundaries. So sometimes when you're losing friends, also look at it from the other way. I hope your friends are not the ones leaving you. Does that make sense? Because there's this thing of take me the way I am. That's one thing I learned in my 30s. There's no such thing as take me the way I am. I am who I am. No, go and look inwards. Have an outer body experience. Ask yourself, questions. Am I really a good friend? Am I just a taker? Am I also a giver? Am I a burden to my friends? Am I, that sort of person that when my friends call me, they just when my friends call me, when I call my friends, they're like, no, please, it's going to be another, problem. Like we all do have problem. Where does this end? You know what I mean? So you have to look at I lost a friend once, and this friend at that time I didn't understand it, but now I truly understand it because I was in a situation ship at that time that didn't favor me, didn't favor my life. It was bad for me and every other thing in between. So this person had spoken to me several times about it, talked to me about it, you know, took out time to meet me, try to help me leave that situation, but I wasn't leaving. As a human being that, at some point people got their own shit to deal with. You know what I mean? And of course I lost that friend. So that's what I mean by also check on what's don't feel like, oh, I lost this friend, go. It doesn't matter. No, if you do not reflect on if it's your fault, it's going to happen again. So you might have lost that one, but if you do not understand where or what might have happened, it will happen again. So basically, quality over quantity. Now, this is one thing that really shook me in my 30s. In fact, when I was writing down, this is the first thing that came to my mind. That having it all figured out. Your 30s, huh? People will expect you to have it all figured out. The grace that you got in your 20s, in your teens, Trust me that the world will not give you that grace in your 30s, but it is left for you not to push it. I felt like, imagine your 30s and you're like, okay, Sarah, so now you've left this. What's the next thing you want to do? It's okay to say, I don't know. And it's okay to really not know because we're in a society that feels like 30, you don't know. 30, you haven't made your mind about this. 30, you're still doing this. So when I broke from that, I have to have it all figured out. I found out that I started figuring things out because there was less pressure. Like, you know what I mean? I wasn't putting timelines with age, and I'm not even gonna lie. I had to change before, right? Growing up, I used to say in my 20, by 21, I want to be here. By 22, I want to be here. By 23, I want to be here. I changed that and I started writing realistic goals. Like this is what I want to do for this month. This is what, regardless of the age. Does that make sense? Yeah. And it doesn't matter, even if it's biology. It doesn't matter. I am not going to put myself in a situation that I know that I'm not clearly ready to because the world tells you this. And changing your career, which is the next thing, I wish I had known that it was okay to change your career. It's always okay to change your career whenever you wake up and realize that you probably might have been in the wrong space or where you thought you wanted to be, that this place no longer gives you joy, that it's okay to change your career. I started doing corporate in my 30s. I mean, I had never in my entire life, when I started working, I had to go buy work clothes because I didn't have work clothes. That's how bad it was. I'd never had to wake up at a certain time, be structured, send emails, not me. We used BBM at that time. And it was in my 30s that I realized that at that time I needed to do corporate for so many reasons. I was in a time and space in my life where that was the most reasonable and sustainable thing to do. I don't know if you get what I mean. Like there's a time in your life where it becomes career over passion. No, not career over passion, like bills over passion. Like you need to pay your bills. And if your passion is not paying your bills, then you do your passion in the evening and look for what doesn't pay your bills and look for what pays your bills in the daytime. You know what I mean? So that was a decision I had to make in my 30s. But before I made that, I struggled with the fact that, like, no, Sarah, you have studied this for a long time. You've always wanted to be this. But even though this part is not working out, stick to it. And that kept me stuck for a very long time. So it's okay to change your career. I mean, I love seeing people who start studying at 40, 50, who become creators or anything that they've always wanted to be. And sometimes you've even worked for a very long time and you've been able to save up to now actually follow your dreams, but the truth is that it's okay to change your passion. The next one is health is wealth. I used to play with my health in my 30s, and this came in my 20s, sorry. And this came from even more like lack of rest. I felt like I had to be everywhere that needed my attention, even if it could do without me. I felt guilty resting. Yeah. Like when people call me at a certain time, I had worked for a long time and probably they call me on Saturday and around 10, I feel guilty that, oh my God, I'm still sleeping at this time. But I didn't know how much that made me feel healthier, better, you know, in and out, just resting, prioritizing my health. I mean, in Africa, we self-medicate a lot because it's so easy to buy a lot over the counter. So I had to like prioritize that and start taking my health very seriously. I started taking my multivites very seriously. I started allowing things take its due course. Like if I'm having a headache, I try to see like the most natural ways to let it go, like rest, sleep, drink water before I think of medication. Does that make sense? So I started prioritizing my health and I started working out because I wanted to be healthy, not because I wanted to lose weight. Does that make sense? So I started working out because I knew that, oh, the older you get, the more, your metabolism, blah, 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 blah. And I started paying more attention to my body. If I eat late, it doesn't digest. So I stopped eating late. And that's because I started paying attention to my body. If I don't get enough sleep, I wake up cranky. So I started sleeping I started making sure I get a certain amount of sleep, regardless of what it was. But taking your health really serious, right? The next one I wrote down here is failure is a teacher. Failure is really an opportunity to learn and grow. I sit down here in my lows to say that I am grateful for everything I went through in my 20s. Sarah, I am grateful for everything I went through in my 20s. It shaped me and made me the woman that I am today. I mean, if I didn't have to go through it, thank God, but I had to go through it. And one thing is learning from it is the most important thing. We give grace to other people more than we give grace to ourselves. So giving grace to myself was from a place of saying, Sarah, you made this mistake. Because when I left, my situationship, situationship, I left with so much regret and so much self blame. Like, Sarah, you allowed this, you allowed this, you allowed that to happen, you allowed it, But I had to realize that I had to forgive myself, forgive the party, forgive and stop playing a victim, stop self blaming myself, like stop blaming myself and know that I have learned from this. It could have been worse. That's what I was telling myself every day. I said, it could have been worse. Take that, when you're in the boxing ring and they say, take that anger and put it here. Take that thing and determine to be successful. Put that as this, and instead of that failure became a source of motivation to me. Like, you know where you're coming from. You never want to go back there. So, what do you want to do to avoid you going back there? What do you want to learn to avoid you going back there? Who do you need to be to avoid you going back to such situation? And my life changed. My life did. It really did change. Now, the next one is the comparison. My girl, I used to be a comparer. I used to compare myself with the trees, the winds, the humans, the males, the females, everybody and everything in between. I was such a comparer and I just got stuck. You know, Even just to start creating, I'll be like, oh, look at the people I'm creating with. This is it. And I'll get so confused. And I used to compare myself with everything and everybody. And breaking that comparison habit really helped me. Basically, understanding that this life, I used to use this finger now, for example, right? It's not equal. All fingers are not equal. Everybody's path is different. Some people straight, they need to go through here and here to get this. Some need to go through this and this and this. What I went through in my 20s, some go through it in their 30s to realize, some go through it in their 30s. Like, it's life is just that way, right? And so when I realized that it's there's no one size fits all, or how do you put it? Like, I stopped comparing myself. I rather I started like appreciating, like, if I see something that I want to be like, or where I want to be, or somebody doing something that I would love to do, I see myself being so happy for the person. Like, oh my God, I'll be so, 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 so happy. Let's say I want to hit 1 million subscribers and I see a Nigerian YouTuber, for example, get their plaque. I'm like, wow, nice. This is like, I start like calling it in, of course, the power of, manifestation rather than comparing to say, this person, no, if I started this thing since blah, 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 what would have happened and stuff like that. Now, the next one for me is time management. Time is very important. Time is money. Time is money. So know this and know peace, because sometimes we spend a lot of unnecessary times thinking and searching for things that do not benefit us, things that do not help us grow. They don't even entertain us. They don't do anything for us. So realizing that time is money helped me. And there's something I even started doing since the pandemic, right? The pandemic really like helped us to start taking meetings by Zoom and Google. That has even reduced the way I go places. So I shut conversations before it even starts. Like, oh, let's meet up and I think about it. Can I have this conversation? Can we have this meeting online? And then we have the first meeting, and we even know if it's something that needs to go to the next one, right? Like, if you're having a pitch, no matter how you're passionate about something, and you see that this thing is not going anywhere, like no matter what, this conversation is not going anywhere, we shut it down immediately. Like, no time. And another one is temporarily chasing happiness, right? We look for happiness in the things that expire. Yeah. I stopped basing my happiness on I am the happiest when I travel. I am the happiest when I do things, especially things that I have no control over. So I started looking for how to always have joy, because when you have joy in you, even in misery, in any situation that you find yourself, once there is joy in you, there's that internal happiness forever. But I stopped basing my happiness on things that, like, so my happy place, the happiest I've ever been is if I go to party and then when you come home, you're like, oh, I need to go to the next party because that's the only thing that makes me happy. I need to take this, I need to do this, I need to be on that. I stopped basing my happiness on that. It's never too late. It's never too late. This one made me smile when I wrote it. I was like, it is never too late. It is never too late. I wish I knew this in my 20s. I would not have struggled. I promise. If I knew this in my 20s, I would not have struggled at all because it is never too late. My people say that anytime you wake up is your morning. Anytime you wake up is your morning. If you're watching this video and you're in your 40s, this is and you realize that these things are the things you have been doing, this is your morning. You just woke up. The video didn't come to you by chance. It came to you because it is never too late. Understanding that, like, it's never too late has really changed my life, to know that whatever you want to start, that dream, be you 40, 50, 60, it's not late to start living. It is not late to start learning. It is never late to start unlearning, right? Yeah, so basically, these are a few things that, I wrote down, that I processed and said, wow, if I knew these things, my 20s or my early 30s as well would not have been like that. But I am grateful that I had an opportunity to go through that, to ensure that someone else doesn't go through it, or someone that is already going through it and is wondering, how do I start again? Or probably you're stuck in comparing yourself, or you're scared of losing that friend or losing that person because you feel like, if I lose this person, it's not coming back. That's not true. That is not true. So if you want to take out just one thing from this, I want you to take out the fact that it's never too late to start again. It is never too late to forgive. It is never too late to forgive yourself. And most importantly, it is never too late to dream, because your dreams are valid, in Lupita Ayongo's words. Thank you so much for watching. It's me, your girl, Sarah Donald. And if you like what you see, please comment, subscribe, and share. Bye for now.